same, and still the lot of near miss situations are happening, and that is going unnoticed, and maximum time during the dark hours. And due to the fear a junior officers are having, that's why they are not calling a master even in like in a doubtful navigation situation also. So I feel until and unless the training is given on both sides, like to the master and to the juniors also, I think this type of communication gap and this type of near miss which is going unnoticed maximum time, and one day that is leading to an incident, and then only we start thinking on it, it will keep on going, and it is keep on going in recent time also and from long time also. So this communication gap should be reduced, and it is the only cause which is creating lot of other problems also. So thank you, sir, and that's all for today, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to keep my views.
Thank you, Amit. I think the moderators have noted down all your points. There's some very important points there, which was not there in our time at least. But if this is the current scenario, then it needs to be addressed immediately. So we will wait for our moderators to ask these questions of the panelists. And we will move on to Mr. Braj Kishore Ray. He is the sailing ETO, and he's with us here today. Mr. Ray, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody, and happy Navratri once more. Sir, I am Braj Kishore Ray, speaking in behalf of ETO fraternity. I have come across many ETOs, my juniors, and we have got a group in social media, and through brainstorming, I have gathered few points which I am going to put forward to this webinar. My first point is recognition of ETOs. So basically, ETOs are 90% of the merchant ship. ETOs are from ex-Navy. They are from naval retired personnel. We all have actually put up 25 years of service, at least 25 years of service in Indian Navy, and then we come back to merchant ship after retirement. What I have actually experienced is, when we were in Indian Navy, we were having a very good position, and then we were an HOD, head of the department, and handling at least 20-25 electricians under us. But when we come back to merchant ship, we have got only one.
Mr. Ray, we have lost you. Your screen is frozen. Mr. Ray?
But unfortunately,
Mr. Ray, we lost you in your... Can you just repeat your last 3-4 sentences, please?
Sir, basically, I have social media. I have this recognition of ships. We all % electrical officers are in a Navy for, but when we come back to merchant ship, we are only one, and actually we are feeling that we are not given the proper recognition as per the age as well as the position. We are actually called Batti Saab, and then even I have heard that, I have gathered the information, some of my colleagues, they have told me that they were initially after joining, after leaving Navy, they joined in merchant ship as assistant electrical officer. So sometimes people have whispered and said that a Mom Batti Saab. So from Batti Saab, the assistant is Mom Batti Saab. that sounds very flaw. For us, when we are having so important, we are the link between deck, engine, as well as housekeeping. We have got now the ships are autonomous. There's so much automation. We are having so much pressure, and we are handling the ships for good going. But still, things are in a hay basis. People are not giving proper respect. That's what people have told me. Even I have also experienced in my sailing period. That is the one. So that has to be taken care. Second point is safe manning plan. ETOs are till to date, ETOs have not been included in safe manning plan. Earlier, we were called, you are not certified engineers. You are not certified engineers. Now people have done COC and they have now COC, so they are certified engineers. But in office, when they go and they say that I have COC, so I should be having some recognition, and then our payment should be also increased. Then offices, they come up say that we don't need your COC. This is what people have complained to me when I have asked them. So this is a humble request to all of you that you should put forward this point, and electrical officers should be included in the safe manning plan. My third point is regarding spare part management. In my experience, the spare parts are not properly managed, and in some of the companies, the spare parts are very spurious. They actually follow much more with much less, and they give the spare parts which is very, very spurious. Sometimes we don't have the critical spares also. So I can give you one example. When we were one of the ports, we were discharging, and then the boiler was not firing. And then when I actually concluded that the boiler's flame detector is not working, and we found that flame detector spare was not available in the spare. That is very critical spare. And then unheartedly, because of the commercial pressure, chief engineer told me that you bypass that safety, and then we actually completed the discharging. But bypassing this safety is very, very dangerous, because if we are firing and firing the boiler, and boiler is not firing, and then oil is accumulated, then it is 90% chances are there that there will be explosion. So we have in some of the companies MOS, MNP, that is the spare part management, but that is also scientifically not managed. We should go for VD analysis, ABC analysis, and XYZ analysis, and the combination of these two we should have in spare bank in shore side also, and so that we can get the spares immediately as far as possible to meet the requirement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. I'm very keen to seek the view of the panelists on this, and therefore I am going to now hand over the proceedings to Captain Yadav and Mr. Rai. Over to you, sirs. We come to the end of our first session of the Sailing Seafarers' Point of Views. We'll come back a little later on after the panelists have given their views on the speakers who have already spoken. So, sir, Captain Yadav and Mr. Rai, over to you.
Thank you, Manny. I will request Captain Mahesh is on a call. Captain Mahesh, can you take up the questions of Mr. Abhinav Rathore, third officer?
Yes. Sorry, I got a call, and all right. I was looking at the title of the seminar, Connecting Sea and Shore, and nowhere it seems to give an indication that it is a sort of expressing grievances only seminar. Very unfortunately, as a moderator, I had to first make this comment yes, there are issues, there are problems, there are difficulties. There is, short supply of, say, spare parts or something not coming due to non-connectivity or expenses or whatever. But I did not see in any of these flyers anywhere that all the grievances of the seafarers will be addressed. Having said that, and why I say that is that all of us who are in this group or in this room have had sailing experiences at some time or the other, maybe 30 years ago, 20 years or 5 years ago. I don't think the seafaring profession is as bad as it is made out today. If it was so bad, we wouldn't have stayed at sea for 12 years or 15 years or 30 years or whatever period that most of the people here are, or even the younger ones today. At least they have spent 3 to 5 to 7, 10 years. There has to be something good for people to continue serving at sea. It can't be everything useless and everything not there, and then we still continue serving at sea. Having said that, now let us come back to normal. My job is to moderate, so I thought that I must say that first. After that, we go to the questions. I'll take on only one small question I want to ask Mr. Abhinit Rathore.
Yes, sir, please.
The exam pattern part, I'll come back later. I'll pass it on to one of the panelists because I don't think I should be answering that question honestly. You stated that we have a certificate which is of second officers.
Yes, sir.
The certificate is second mate foreign going certificate in Indian, as per Indian Merchant Shipping Act, and as per STCW convention, it is officer in charge of the navigation watch. It does not state anywhere fourth officer or third officer or second officer. So I thought let me clarify that first before I go to the other parts of the question, employment and salary and all that. So let me take this question regarding exam pattern, outdated curriculum, chart work, etc., and things which are of no use. They are being taught and people are being examined in that by the administration. And also due to that, the quality is being affected. I request Captain Nalin Pandey to please answer this question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And you want me to answer like the issue raised in the exam pattern by Mr. Rathore, right?
That's correct. He stated that exam pattern is outdated, curriculum is outdated. Those things which are of no use, for example, chart work, etc., are being taught, and due to that, the quality of the seafarers is coming down because whatever is there in the curriculum for examination or for the training institutes, it is outdated, and it's of no use. Now you have to answer as Nalin Pandey for this.
Okay, so good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And this is the first session of this type, open session. So I must thank and congratulate Mr. G.K. Pandey. Now coming to this question straightway, I do not agree with Mr. Rathore that the examination pattern is outdated. Maybe that there are room to include some new development, the new things, what is happening, that there may be required to include those things. But unless until you do not know the history or you do not know the background, how you will perform the job? That's the question. We must know that how the particular things has evolved. We must know the genesis of anything. Then only we will come to know. Like if he is very, he told about the chart work, he told chart work and what else? Like still I feel that unless until you do not know the charts and symbols, routinely I take the interview of the junior officer, sometimes senior officer also, I ask them chart symbols and abbreviation. And if he does not know the chart symbol and abbreviation, he does not know how to correct the chart on the paper chart, how he is going to correct it the electronic chart. And if he does not know the chart symbol, abbreviation of the paper chart, how he will do correlate the FDs, you know. I have asked many people about 5011 nautical publication 5011, and sometimes I find that the youngster is not aware of 5011. And during our time, like 5011 was on Rajendra, T.S. Rajendra, it was the work of first 3 months that every cadet used to know by heart the complete book. And we used to get some sort of reward or some acknowledgement also in form of band. So those things were there. Now there is a scope of inclusion of new one, and new one there is a scope because it is every day it is changing. The technology is changing from ship to ship, from type of the ship, from the makers, from the area wise it is changing. So that that much part I will say that yes, new thing has to be included, but definitely it is not outdated. That you know, I am also very closely associated for last couple of years, and that is my view. Any particular question that he asks, he wants to know, he can ask me, because in general I cannot say, any particular question, particular subject, if he feels in radar, ARPA, or he feels cargo work, then he can ask and I can answer him.
Okay, Captain Pandey, thank you so much. Let's go to the second question put up by the same speaker, that is regarding the junior officer category, but going, the juniors, third officer, additional third officer, and $700. May I invite Mr. Vineet Gupta, Deputy Managing Director, Anglo-Eastern Ship Management, to please answer this question.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Nalin and Maritime Destination Magazine for conducting such an event where we have an opportunity to listen to the problems or the grievances, as Captain Yadav said, which is being portrayed right now, and explain from our side what is happening and why it is happening, and what is the way forward if you want to resolve these kind of issues. So first of all, as I think Captain Yadav himself in the moderation, he said very clearly that the certificate of competency is not for the rank. Like second officer does not mean you become second officer. It is the level up to which you can perform. So that is, which is very, very clear. So you are not supposed to be the second officer. You have to start at somewhere to reach that level maximum you are certified to perform on the ship. So this is how it is. And for every rank, when you get a chief engineer or a master's license, you don't become the master immediately. You gradually learn and kind of get the experience to perform to that level, and then you reach that level. As you know, this industry is a worldwide global industry. Nothing new from my side. We are in competition with various nationalities, and which are very competitive for various reasons, maybe money, maybe competence, and other reasons. So we have to remain competent in the performance as well as the cost. We have to be competitive, and all the shipping companies, including mine, we are always fighting against all the nationalities who are coming in competition and who might like to take away the jobs from Indians to some other nationality. And for that, we have to remain competitive. And for that reason, we always are in discussion with the owners so that we can retain the jobs. We know we are very competent, but at the same time, the money will also be a very critical component for retaining the job to Indians. And for that reason, sometimes during the crisis times, of course, right now the bulk market, container market is doing very well, but just few months ago it was doing very poorly, and they were making a lot of losses. So they were trying to cut down their cost, and many companies actually hired other nationalities also. So we had to come in and start negotiating and talk to owners and say how we can get the budgets down, and that's how we have. Historically, we have cut down certain ranks, and recently we have got down to some certain ranks which we can, have a performance at a lower level. That's how they come into picture of JWKOs and fourth officers. But it is a very transition rank. Understand that it is a very transition rank. It is not a long-lasting rank. You perform at the most one contract, or at the most two in some companies. Majority it is one contract, and you come to the third officer level immediately after that. So it is giving stability to Indian in the international market, and you get the confidence to work and learn at a lower level and come to a certified level of third officer and then perform, so that you have a better grounding and you have can hold the position in a much confident manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. We go to the second speaker, that is second officer, Mr. Amit Sharma.
Mahesh, with your permission, if I can just interject over here to just reiterate what Vineet has just said. Mr. Rathore, as he's mentioned, our primary objective as a collective Indian shipping community here is to increase the jobs for Indian seafarers in a very competitive global market. I'm sure my colleagues from the Maritime Union of India and NUSI will agree with me because we have a very difficult time to try to strike a balance on the wage levels for junior officers so that it remains competitive, yet we get the best in terms of motivation which money brings about. So, but as he rightly said, this is a very transitional stage. If we can keep our costs at junior officer levels slightly below the market, we attract the jobs over here. I mean, there are some senior officers over here. You will see Indian masters and chief engineers are amongst the highest paid in the world. So if you work your way through these junior ranks, which is a transitional rank, you have to reap the harvest for the longer, bigger picture. I'm sure my colleagues Gani and Amar Singh will throw more light on it when their term comes to speak, but I thought it was important I bring this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Tandon. We have second officer, Mr. Amit Sharma. He has put in brought forward two very important issues. One is concerning mental health. And as per him, 30 to 35% seafarers are suffering from depression and anxiety, as far as some survey report, maybe. I probably will question that. And 25% people are prone to suicide. Extension of contract and delay in relief particularly during the COVID period or even before that period has led to people coming in that situation. And so this particular question regarding mental health and extension of contracts, I think looking at all the panelists, I feel I should address this question to Mr. Abdul Ghani Sarang. If he can please throw some light on this about the mental health situation and extension of contracts due to delay in relief, particularly during the COVID period or even before that.
Regarding the extension of contract, let us make a point very clear. Wherever there is a proper agreement, whether it is of NUSI and MUI, wherever there is a proper agreement, the situation comes in when the seafarers have to extend their contract because of the COVID. Let it be very clearly understood. The company wants to get the seafarers down. They don't want to have the contract extended. The unions want the contract, wants the seafarers to come down and get home back. The Maritime Administration wants them to come back. So all in unanimity, we all want our seafarers not to extend their contract, but to finish their contract and come back. But because of COVID pandemic issues, the crew change is having a serious issue. Wherever, some countries do not allow the crew change. And it is very challenging to get the seafarers on board the ship and also to get them off the ship. These are at times because of political reason, not more for medical reason, but because of political reason. And there are certain areas where, very unfortunately, everybody wants the products the seafarers bring in, but they don't want the seafarers to sign off or have so. So we want to make it clear. Collectively, we don't want the seafarers to extend their contract due to pandemic, but there are serious reasons challenging reasons where, despite the best of the effort, they are not allowed to get the seafarers in most of the cases. They're not allowed to get them, have a crew change. Extension of contract will, I would say that as far as we have to be competitive, our ratings are having a contract of 9 months. Officers will be having between the range of 4 to 6 months. If we reduce the contract period, in the competitiveness, we might lose a bit of an edge. We don't want exploitation. We would also want the contracts to be shorter for our, even we get many requests, many suggestions from our members that reduce the contract. But if the reduction of the contract is at the cost of losing that job, as a responsible union will not agree to the reduction of the contract. We are making it very openly. We are saying without beating around the bush, if the reduction of a contract results in loss of job, as a responsible union, openly we are saying will not allow that to happen. Because people, those who are on board the ship, they want reduction of contract. There are 5 times, 10 times over seafarers who are waiting, just itching, just waiting for one job to get on board the ship. हमको नौकरी दो, हम लोग इधर बर्बाद हो गए, हमको एक contract दो, let us get a job. So this is the situation. Regarding mental health, just to mention, I'll just state one, that it is in our charter of demand. We are taking it very serious. The next negotiation we are going to have with the ship owner, it is one point on the charter of demand to have a dedicated mental wellness officer in each company. So I just wanted to make it a point over there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul Ghani. I'm coming, Mr. Amit Sharma, I'm coming to your what comment you put over there. That is the second question. This question is addressed to Mr. Amar Singh Thakur. Half the problems are being caused due to behavior and working environment on the ship caused due to senior officers. Anxiety, depression, loss of motivation, loss of interest, lack of appreciation of the work done and life on board, communication gap between navigating officers and masters, and thereby the navigating officers not calling masters even in doubtful navigation situations. Your comments, please. Why do masters and senior officers behave like this?
Thank you, Captain Yadav. First of all, officer should be trained. When he comes in his life, he should be told in the beginning only that this is very good profession, but it is a tough profession. He should forget what the future, past, and family were a job. And when it comes to the master or chief and senior, this thing, it depends upon your behavior. You should mix around with the people. You should make your life happily. You should not compare. Captain ne bol diya, that's not fair. You should not blame the master, you should not blame the chief here. There is no difference. If you know your job, everyone will love you. And you should have like a meetings and all, and you should mix around this thing. And no one will differentiate anything. So atmosphere on board ship, it depends on your person to person. And master should also, master is the master, he is also in charge. He should family, like a family head. He should have meetings day and day, different time, like a monthly meeting, convince the juniors and encouragement and do the encouragement to them. So that's what I said.
Okay, thank you. I think Captain Atul Vatsa was trying to interject. Can you please come?
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Gagan. Thanks, everybody, for giving this opportunity. Okay, I want to address Amit's questions about suicide. There is a company, big ship management company, introduced a booklet on suicide 3 years back because they were facing a lot of suicides on board. And it was not because of sign-off not available or not. It was working conditions on board. And I agree with Amit that these working conditions on board are caused by senior managements on board. I have seen it. It is about not during my sailing time, but when I was a chief officer, if I have a master who tells me that you will get 3 days of good food and 4 days of bad food, as a chief officer, I've experienced it. I'm doing cargo work as a chief officer, and I told Chief Cook, I'll not eat lunch now, just keep my food. And the master says, just keep him a very small chicken piece on the table and he will eat when he wants to eat. If that is the condition which are being done on board, and I know it is still happening, it is not that maybe it is only 10% happening now, but during my time it was happening. So I don't think anything has changed now. Secondly, the behaviors of master sometimes is very authoritative on board. You know, they have to get this. I agree with Amit in a way that why there's a communication gap between masters and the navigating officers. The reason is because the master, when he gets a new navigating officer, he does not make him comfortable, you know, saying, okay, this is what I expect from you. This is what I'm available for. I give an example. You have Captain Sunena here. I'm sure she can add. But when I was master, when I had a change of junior officers, I would go on the bridge out at sea. Please don't try this within port limits, or it's a disclaimer I'm giving. I used to try a very short exercise and see how my bridge team behaved. I would say port 10 and give my hand to starboard. I would see what is happening with the guy on the wheel and what is happening with the second officer or the junior officer who's behind me. And if they questioned me that, sir, your hand is on starboard, but you're saying port 10, what is the right thing? If they do not question me, that means, and they're babbling amongst themselves, there's a problem. Then you start addressing that problem. I feel that we cannot, you know, you need two hands to clap. You don't need one hand. You can't clap with one hand. So it is a combination of issues from juniors and from seniors. And I totally agree that if, say, a junior officer comes to a master and says, sir, I think you should not alter to 20 degrees, you should go 30 degrees. And the master tells him, hey, you don't know anything, I know what I'm doing. Or he could say it in a very different way. He could say, okay, good, thanks. I will do 20. I will tell you why I'm not doing 30 later on. Then you explain to him why you did not do what, so that he gets the confidence to challenge you more. But if you shrug him off in the beginning only and say, you don't know, he will stop asking you anything, and he will, when the real situation will come, he will not tell you anything. And that's where the biggest crux of the situation is, that how a master and a chief engineer on board can get the team to work together. It's like similar in the engine room with environmental compliance. It's a big issue right now. Companies are getting fined 4 million, 3 million. It's just because somebody decides to do something and does not tell anybody. That's what I wanted to just say to Amit's questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Captain Vatsa. And I think
shall I add?
Invite, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Captain Yadav, sir, shall I add a few lines in this question? It's a very long debate.
Okay, I think we will come back to you. I think let the engineers have equal share.
Okay.
May I invite Mr. Surendra Rai to please deal with the questions put up by second engineer Ray and ETO Mr. Brizkishore Ray.
Yeah, thank you.
Ray only.
I think so far we had very healthy discussions, and I would also like to bring out some points, but let me take up the questions first of Ms. Ray. And first, I really feel sorry what she experienced on board and went through some sort of a, I say, gender discrimination, which indeed is very shocking and sad. I wouldn't ask you which company or nationality you are sailing on, but I can assure you, at least on the Indian flag vessels today, such things are not there. As a matter of fact, all efforts are being made to encourage women to take the lead and be at the helm of affairs. As a matter of fact, I have Captain Suneha Gatpande here. She must be sharing that recently we had one vessel, Swan Krishna, where the entire ship was entrusted to the only women officers. So what you went through, Misra, is indeed very saddening and shocking. And as a moderator, I will share with you what you experienced. But since we have panelists here, can I ask Suniti, will you answer to her, what three went through, that she was, not given the due as a second engineer by chief engineer, then she was made to sign off and not allowed to go for dry docking, etc. These are something indeed very saddening and shocking. And Suniti, you yourself have been chief engineer on ship. You yourself have been a surveyor. So would you like to respond that what she went through and what is the recourse open? Suniti.
Thank you, Raisa. Good evening to all. And for Aprajita, I'm actually not very surprised to hear what she has gone through, though it's very unfortunate. And I will try to deal in a different angle to this particular problem. So like Aprajita said, it was one of the incident, and which was in 2012. What I see, it is really unfortunate that she faced that as a second engineer, which is not very commonly faced. What commonly faced by the girls is a very unwelcoming behavior, definitely at the junior levels, because that is when they are not even being trained and they are not being even considered for a normal jobs. And there are many, I will not say that these are the companies. It is actually the training officers who are their superiors. It depends on them how they train their juniors, and it has come to our notice that most of the time these girls have been given the paperwork. Now, what are the reasons of this kind of behavior of these senior officers on board who are actually responsible for the training of their cadets and junior officers? One, which is very evident, and as Mr. Abdugani sir also have written in the chat, that this is the mindset. This mindset will not go away in one day. It will definitely take good amount of time. And in fact, with recent years, we have seen a great amount of change in the mindset of those on board, and also in the mindset of companies, where more and more companies have come forward to hire women seafarers, because that was one of the challenges we all know that have been faced majorly by the girls, where they were not being hired. Coming back to the incident, I'm glad to hear that she faced only one such incident, and she had a good atmosphere in rest of the ships. Maybe it's not that she has not faced any other incident, maybe not of this amount. What can be done apart from the mindset? Because we all know that mindset will take time. And here, me and you and everyone needs to work together so that we change that mindset. And this mindset will not change by saying only. So we need to have some efforts put in so that the mindset can change. And the very prominent and good way of doing that, I see, is the commitment from the leadership of the company. So it is the company's standing, how they want to treat their women seafarers when they are working with them, whether they want to set an example, how they want to lead it. This is something, maybe it's high time that it is not only be trusted, but also need to be defined within the company procedures and policies, and a kind of good briefing with the masters and chief engineers who are the leadership team on board, because they are the one who can make a change in this working environment for the women seafarers. Now, if we see that how it can be done, maybe it's the best practice sharing. We can always look to the good companies who are successfully handling the women seafarers, and we can definitely share those best practices with other companies who are looking. But a leadership commitment is definitely required to change a scenario. And It should not be only by talk, but actually through the actions. That's my bet.
Anyway, thank you, Suniti. I will have invite Shri Vinit sir. Can you also address to her other issue which she raised? Though her contract was for over 5 months, since vessel was going to dry dock, she was made to sign off only after 2.5 months. And it amounts, even to my mind, the management or company didn't trust her potential or caliber to undertake the dry docking. So would you like to comment, because you are now from the fleet management department, what is your take on this? Because this indeed is very, I mean, she didn't say in those words, but I find it insulting and humiliating to you. Mr. Vinit sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rai. Thank you very much. And I would like to first say this. Nowadays, the lady officers are there in the company, and many companies are very very willing to induct more and more lady officers in their fleet. But I would like to say it is not necessarily always because they are ladies, they are being not discriminated against for whatever reason. It usually is a human tendency. I will not deny that being a lady officer can have to an extent it can have an effect, but generally what happens whenever you have a new person in your fleet, maybe a different nationality or maybe a person new in the company, there is a resistance from the senior management because the trust is not so much about that person. So this could be the one of that reason as well, whether the officer who's coming with a lady or a different nationality will be able to perform well on the ship or not. That question is always there in the mind of senior people. Until the time the trust is built by the new person who comes into the fleet and proves himself herself that yes, I'm capable, I can manage. Till that time, it becomes a little bit kind of a question in a lot of people's mind. So this is a very general thing, not necessarily it is something to do with the gender here, not necessarily. Okay, in her case, I am not very sure what happened with her, but yes, it could be also the kind of a compatibility issue with the seniors or some other issue. And in many cases, I mean, being a management company. A team here, I understand that in many situations, the technical team asks for a particular favorite chief engineers, second engineers, masters for dry dock. And we do change just before the dry dock a certain people in spite of maybe the contract not completed. So this may not be necessarily, it is because of the gender discrimination. It could be in the mind, but I'm not very certain about it. But I can assure you one thing, that as a company, now we are very, very conscious about this. The lady officers should be taken care of. As they should be treated at par with their counterpart, gender-wise, and there should not be any discrimination as far as the gender is concerned. So, and we have a running, as Mr. Ghani was saying, we have a welfare team in the office, and we are always open to speak to the lady officers or any officer for that matter in case there is any kind of a grievance. And we have ladies, predominantly ladies in our team of that welfare. They are also always in touch with the ladies. We do get complaints sometimes, especially as I think Suniti was saying, from the junior level people. We have got chief engineers, masters also in our company who are lady officers, and we hardly they have reached that level in the company growing, So I don't think there's any problem with them. At the entry level, sometimes there is an issue, and mostly it is competence issues. It is not because of gender discrimination. Their interest levels are not much. So that's what I would like to add. This could be just maybe a case of incompatibility, not necessarily the gender bias.
Mr. Vinit sir, I mean, despite what you said, I can only feel sorry for Aparajita that what she experienced and went through. And on this, I may invite Sri Amar Singh Thakur sir. Would you like to take a call if one of your member goes to this embarrassing or humiliating experience? What as the union person you will like to do? Sir, unmute करिएगा अपना आपको, अमर सिंह sir.
Sir, regarding this embarrassment, if somebody is facing this problem, he should write to the union what problem he is facing. Then only union can act on that, and we can ask to the company also, what is the problem going on. Then only we can do that.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think, but I will again feel sorry that in our industry, if something like this is happening, it is indeed very saddening, and I can only feel sorry for Aparajita. Let us hope that days to come, no discrimination like this happens. And I can assure you that industry is now very aware and getting more and more sensitive on these issues. As a matter of fact, we are encouraging ladies to be sailing on ship. And I think in the second half, we'll have comments from Captain Suneha also, who led she created a history when she led a complete ship led by the women officers only. So Aparajita, your other question about stores and spare, I think will combine with others one. So please bear with us. Thank you.
So can we add, Sanak?
Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add Captain Vineet's comment that it's not gender bias and maybe more about competence. But at least as a company, we can make sure when some top management, either master or chief engineer, is requesting to get one of the ladies sign off basis gender, it should be denied from the office end. So what Aparajita has gone through, that was clear gender discrimination because that's what she was told. That's what I believe. Maybe Aparajita can confirm. She was told that this was because of the gender. There is an uncomfort on board. That way, at least company need to take a stand that they ask whether she's competent or not. And if she's competent, then she should stay. And if they then, in case if it is a matter of competence, then it can be taken as a company policy. Then it's not definitely a matter of gender bias. And then this question will not come here for sure from a women's seafarer.
Suniti, that's why I wanted Mr. Vineet to comment on this because he is handling a fleet personnel department and he should be better aware. And to me, as I said, this is rather saddening and unacceptable. Because if she was told that because vessel is going for dry dock, that and she has not completed her contract and being signed off, is again I feel sorry and sad. So Aparajita, I mean, would you like to say something? I see you want to speak something.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to say that this wasn't a case where I think competence would have been a thing, nor neither that I was new with the company. I was already with the company for last 6 years. I joined as a fourth engineer for the first time. I was all through with this company. Even after this incident, I was there for 13 years with the same company. And then I left it. Of course, I had my own reasons, but it wasn't a reason that I was new to the fleet or the company, because before joining, I had an interview for over an hour with a fleet manager, and I was told that the vessel will be going to dry dock, and that is, I was very excited from the very beginning, and this happened after I was on board. So this is what.
Anyway,
Mr. Rai, just one point on behalf of Mr. Vineet Gupta. He did not say competence, he said compatibility. And that's a very clear distinction. He was not talking about whether she was incompetent. He was talking about compatibility. Like you have a team for dry dock. And maybe he is not sure because what Aparajita has gone through, only she knows and she can only comment on this. But what Mr. Gupta said was about compatibility, not incompetence. Suniti, I think you stand corrected on this.
I will just like to say this. First of all, yes, Suniti, please go ahead.
No, I was saying you mentioned both. You mentioned compatibility and you mentioned competent both. And I actually talked about competency that whenever, and I'm not talking about your company, sir, I'm talking about in general, any company when gets any kind of request from the top management regarding a woman seafarer to take her out of ship, then they should always ask, is it the gender or is it the competence? Is it the compatibility? So competence should not be can be a reason if that is proven, but gender should not be a reason to sign any woman seafarer off from on board, whatever it is. And then it was decided before she joined. She was supposed to complete the contract, and at least that could have done. And in fact, if I was a team, shore, sitting at shore, I would have sent maybe one more second engineer if that was possible to help with the situation. But getting her off, this is definitely not acceptable.
Anyway, Suniti,
on gender basis.
Let me just
as our chief guest today, Rajesh Tandon. He is also heading a complete fleet team for years together. I will request Rajesh later on when we conclude our other thing, in your summary or your address, please see if you can take this question of Aparajita also. Rajesh, please later on.
Yeah, I look forward to that because I have another completely different view to it, which I will take up at the end. Let's move on with the questions, please.
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm thinking we have talked ample on this issue. So I will now expect something from you with all your past experience as well as fleet management and crew management.
Can I just add, because Suniti made some comment and of course Saprajita made some comment. To start with, I am totally against. We are very, very open. I'm not talking about my company. It is the industry wide. We are as an industry very open to induct lady officers with the open arms. They are there and they will just increase and they will become better and better in numbers and percentage. I have no doubt about it. And we are never ever as a company going to take any stand on the basis of gender. Never ever, no matter what the management on the ship thinks or whatever happens. We have a very clear vision that we are going to treat lady officers at par with gents officers. At par. Whatever we do with gents officers, same thing with the lady officers. There will be no special privilege, nothing against them. It will be at par. The treatment has to be at par. As I said, we have taken this kind of a stand in our company, and I'm sure in every managed company, on the basis of compatibility, competence, and sometimes maybe a one-to-one interpersonal relationship issues. We have this off and on many ships where there are all gents officers, and we deal only with on the basis of that particular issue. Never a gender thing comes into the picture. That I can assure you, and I'm sure on behalf of all the management companies, shipping companies, I can say that this is how we deal. Mostly, I mean, I can stand and say this. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Vineet. Actually, Suneha, you also want to comment, though I thought we will take you later on, but can you be brief to say what you want to add? Captain Suneha.
Sure, sir. I just wanted to confirm, was Aparajita the first time second engineer when she boarded the vessel? And if that is the case, I understand as any other shipping company, even if he would have been a male, there would have been the discrepancies about whether to take or whether to not. So it's a sad case. I do support Suniti's statements. I definitely support Aparajita's statements because there is not a single woman seafarer who would have not faced this, be it at a junior level or even at a senior level, even at a rank of master, I would say. But can be considered. It's just a two-way thing, which I would say so. And being the first time second engineer could be the possibility that the management officers might not be very comfortable with that. As of now, even if somebody tells me that we are going to go to a dry dock and a first time second engineer is coming, I would also mention the same thing to the management officers and also to the office that it could be considered. Unless and until chief engineer is not very comfortable having a first time second engineer, it's finally a dry dock. Where time is involved, commercially it is involved.
We have to stand up on this, and I will leave it to Captain Rajesh Tandon to give his final views on that. So we'll close this. I only conveyed that it is indeed a very sad experience, and I also feel sorry what she went through. But let us close this here because we are running short of time as well. I have now take questions of Mr. Brijkishore Ray, electrical officer. He said he is from Navy. I admit most of electrical officer from years are from Navy background. But what says was recognition of ETOs. I am not very clear what he implied by saying recognition. By manning standards and everywhere, electrical officer is one and only one. Of course, we may have a wireman to assist him on board and other engineers to assist. But when he said that there is lack of recognition, I was not very clear. Can I invite Mr. Ray again to what you meant by recognition? From the day one, when you signed in, what is the manning standard of merchant navy ships? And there are certain guidelines or standards by where you can go. There is no provision for ETO unless you go to the competency levels for master or chief engineers, etc., etc. In past, I do know the radio officers who later on became captain, but they went through that exercise. So when you are talking about ETO's recognition, can you elaborate what you actually mean? Mr. Ray, unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I wanted to put forward this. The environment, actually, when electrical officer is there on board, people are telling, that's what I had explained you, that Mombatti Saab. So it is, they must be given some respect because they are the important persons, as you also said, that they are the link between all the three departments, and they are only one person. Actually, nowadays, even the Shipping Corporation of India has also removed the electricians. There is no electricians nowadays in any ship to assist him, and they are the single soul, and they have to work and rectify the faults. There are chief engineers. I want to say that they help to some extent, but once we have got so much of responsibility, and then we are at least the age people, the crew, they don't give respect. That's what actually I wanted to say. When we are called Bhakti Sahab, and then sometimes we will be called Mom Bhakti Sahab, then what is our morale? That's what actually I wanted to say.
Sir, just to say, the merchant shipping has certain nomenclature or historical background. Even a captain or a master is called as an old man. Suneva was if ever called as an old lady. Are you being called an old lady like old master? Old man? Huh? I'm not too sure. But these are the practices. Fifth engineer was called as Panchu, electrical officer. These are not official designation. As an official designation, you are still electrical officer. It is by one-to-one how we talk among ourselves. That is a different story, because I personally feel ki there is nothing much can be done. Electrical officer will remain an electrical officer on record, and even it depends how a person is addressing you. That goes about your personal relations and things like those. To me, Bhatti Saab was also not a bad name. Mr. Amar Singh Thakur himself was an electrical officer. Can you say something like Mr. Thakur?
Yeah, I can come in there. Thank you, Mr. Ray. See, first of all, Indian Navy and Merchant Navy, working concept is totally different. Because Indian Navy vessels, they are having the different machinery, and they are having different ranks, from seaman to LCD man, and then master chief, then lieutenant commander, sub-lieutenant commander, and up to commander they go. So in Merchant Navy, the machinery is very less. That's why, and you know, olden days, there were no electrical officer. You might be knowing, there were no electrical officer. They used to call wireman. After that, they changed the rank up to electrician. Then electrical officer came. Now ETO COC has come. So that's why people are thinking why we should not be given weight on that. So we have approached to the even ITF and even IMO London also. We have submitted the paper that ETO should be put on the same meaning. So it is important because it has already submitted paper, but our administration taken this step and they are not going to, because it has to go through administration and it has to go through the ship owners. So we are approaching and we are telling that ETO must come under same meaning. Until if it is not come under same meaning, they don't. And the second thing regarding the respect, it is up to you how you get the respect. If you know the job properly, everyone will give you respect. We used to work on board ship, SCI, and we used to get respect. Nobody says, never say Bhatti Saab ko bolte are electrical sab aiye. And Bhatti Saab bolte hai to Bhatti Saab is consent. Before you say Bhatti Saab, Captain Saab ko bolte hai bada malum saab. Chief Officer bolte kuch malum, cadet ko bolte kuch nahi malum saab. These were the like previous ranks. So we should not feel on that. They should not feel that we are not getting respect. But
yeah, I agree with you, sir.
You must say we should focus on how to get elected officer same meaning.
Yeah, that is my.
So the concept must be there. So we have already targeted that. We already put the paper in IMO also. I have attended IMO meeting also there. And we have even written to DG also. Why elected officer is not given chance to become a chief engineer. You can when this concept is there in UK, the elected officer can give exam for the engineers. So it should come here also. The elected officer can give exam in India this thing COC. So you can rise yourself. Like radio officer, they are given chance to become a captain. So we are already talking with that. So don't forget about the Batti Saab bolta hai, Mombatti Saab bolta hai, kya bolta hai. It is same with the captain also. It is same with the chief engineer also. Chief engineer को बोलते थे पहले मिस्त्री. आप सुना होगा ना?
Yeah, I think you have explained it very well.
I have gathered this information to.
Rajesh, go ahead.
Sir, in lighter vein, I'd like to close this subject. As was mentioned that the old man, the captain was called old man. I was master at a ripe old age of 27. I became master. So people used to call me Buddha. And my wife was on board. And people used to call her Buddhi. So you know how she would have felt when she was called Buddhi on board. You know? So it's just don't worry about these nomenclatures. Yeah. These are traditions that go on. I mean, engineers, chief engineers, to call them stokers, because those kind of banter continues. It is not intended to insult or make you feel small. It is just traditions that are being followed, and we just live with them and we move on. Don't pay too much attention to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I already said I would like to hear Suneha being called as an old lady when we give it. Anyway, now the last question which I'm combining is about stores and spares availability on board. This was raised by both ETO, Mr. Ray, as well as second engineer, Mr. Parajita. I will tell you the stock on board, of course, the hold up money for the ship owner, but classification society has minimum spares requirement. I'm sure that nobody is compromising and they're doing. Now, availability of other consumable stores, of course, will vary from ship to ship and also will depend upon the ports they are touching. But I will like to invite either Mr. Vinit Gupta or Captain Atul Vatsa, sir, can you take that question about spare part and store availability on board?
Yeah.
I mean, that adequate spares were provided.
Yeah, I'll take this because that is a big challenge we can notice in the shipping industry. See, there's a budget people work on, okay? And my only question to the seafarers here is that don't take shortcuts. If you have to bypass safety, don't do it. You have one life, right? Maximum what will happen, you'll have to sign off because company. But yes, the issue of spares and stores is going to be there especially for ship managers. Owners, maybe not so much, but for ship managers, because they have to work under a tight budget. Otherwise, you go over budget, owners will say, okay, you are 5% over, so we'll change management whenever the market is good. But only thing is that please make sure you document what spares you need and don't take shortcuts. Like what Rich sir said. He said that due to commercial pressure. Who's giving you commercial pressure? Is there a call coming from the office? Or ask them to put it on the mail. If there's a commercial pressure, tell them to put it on the mail that, yes, please do this. Because if something will go wrong, you as master, chief engineer, second engineer will be the first people to get impacted. The second impact is going to be the company who will be fined or detained, or, oil majors will not give you cargo for whatever reason. Spares issues will continue. It is not going to change overnight. Make sure you have the spares. Companies have now identified critical spares. They should have those critical spares on board. See, another problem is that on board, the spares should be kept and invented very well. Because half the time what happens is that when you really need the spare, you realize that it was used up last time, but you did not order it. And then what happens? It comes, oh, we don't have spares. Don't take shortcuts. That is the only thing I can say. I keep telling everybody I'm doing a lot on training with regards to environment. There are engineers here, there's chief engineer, there's second engineer. Environment people are going to jail now because they do shortcuts. Like say if your OWS is not working and you get a commercial pressure that, you must reduce your quantity in your bilge tank because you'll be in 10 days in port, the tank will get filled up, so reduce. and you find the tank very dirty. Somebody wants to put in a welding rod into the OCM and trick the sensor to show 3 ppm right through. Why are you doing it? Because who's telling you to do it? Remember, the impact is first you. You will go to jail in US. You will be fined. So don't take shortcuts. That is the only thing I can say. Shortcuts is please. I tell all seafarers, whoever I meet, shortcuts is who benefits from these shortcuts? Company will not benefit. You will not benefit. Company can benefit in a long run, but when a fine will come, then $2 million fine to pay is like crazy. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much, sir. Can you invite Captain Manny, please take over the other questions now?
May I come in for 1 minute? First pair, perhaps.
Yes, please go ahead, but be quick about it.
Yeah.
We are running short of time.
Right, sir, right. So, Mr. Ray, as you said that the company asked me to bypass the flame sensors. Never do this mistake. You can very well refuse. You can ask the superintendent, give me in writing. Otherwise, you will always be a problem. You are playing the safety of the life of the people. You are a 100% there. So never bypass any safety. That's my advice. If anybody goes, you write to union. We'll take over it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we will move on to our next session. Sailing Chief Officer, Mr. Mayank Panwar, you're on now, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Captain Manny. Good evening, everyone. To all distinguished panelists, moderators, and my sailing colleagues. I feel very honored and privileged to be a part of this discussion. Thank you, Maritime Destination, for this novel concept of arranging this discussion and exchange of free thought, connecting sea and shore. Okay. Because we have paucity of time, I'll keep my this thing short. But before going over to the concern, I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart the tiring and splendid effort made by the shore staff behind the scene, for the crew change during this testing time of COVID. In our sailing, we have this image of officer like all this, but believe me, if there is any unsung hero here, it is you. Okay, so going over to my question, I had not many written here, but now I will just keep short to one which I feel is most important to me and to every one of us, especially the sailing ones. Right now, I'm doing my ASM for my master competency examinations, and I got to know or read about the dilution of Section 381 of Merchant Shipping Act. This act, before suspending the COC of any officer, it was required to be done by the judicial court. But now, as per the latest MS Bill of 2020, now it is being said that the DG shipping or the executive, the bureaucrat, can suspend a COC without going to the judicial court. Now, we all know that the COC that we earn is out of our blood and sweat. And even after coming at home during our vacation, we stay out of our home doing our competency exams, studying with groups for orals. And my COC, I would rather say that my COC is a second document after my birth certificate to me. And it should not be kept at the mercy of bureaucracy. At least even a pickpocketer gets to keep his case in front of a court, of a judge, impartial judge. But here, now, what as per the latest bill, it is not an act. Maybe soon it will be introduced in the parliament. But as per the new act bill, our COC would be suspended, can be suspended by the DG shipping or the executive, the bureaucracy. This is the only one that I feel is concerned to me. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Mani.
Thank you, Mr. Panwar. I think a very relevant point. I look forward to the response of our panelists on this. Chief Engineer, Sailing Chief Engineer, Mr. Mayur Gopalakrishna. You're on, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. The first thing I want to address is concerning as we are talking about environment, is everyone's issue nowadays is the scrubber system, which has been installed. Quite a few of them were installed before 2020, before the norms came in of less than 0.5% sulfur. The only thing what we are facing now as sailing staff, ship staff, I should say, is as your scrubber systems are different, and I would request the owners and the ship managers to invest in the ship-specific scrubber training, because it day by day your interfaces are more complicated and you have a lot of complex machineries which are documenting the parameters, and which can be checked by PSC or third parties, etc., etc. So this is one concern. One thing which we need to address going ahead, I feel, is especially getting training done for ship staff, especially with in case they're going on ships with scrubbers, what do you call ship-specific training for them. Number one, for the scrubbers, as that seems to be a big concern nowadays. Number two, as the new SIRE 2.0 is coming, and to facilitate the vetting inspector, they'll be getting intrinsically safe tablets going ahead. So previously, all the vetting inspections will have an opening meeting and a closing meeting. And in case the points which he dots down during his inspection, the master and the chief engineer and the vetting inspector sometimes come to a gentleman's agreement. I think that's the better way to put it across. And, come down to lesser points, or I should say, or points are written in a better way so that they do not look like a high risk observation. So, but when it comes to this, the upcoming SIRE 2.0, he can upload with photographs directly during the inspection. So those maybe we have to also address this, that those days may be gone soon, where with zero vetting inspection points or very minor vetting observations being recorded, the management has to understand this and also educate the SMT, the ship board management team on board. This needs to be addressed soon, because from 1st Jan 2020, next year, it's going to come in. Lastly, people talk about vetting and CDI, especially when you go for briefings. First thing, the office will talk about vetting and CDI, which is coming up, and what are the requirements and anything which has to be done. One thing we also need to concentrate is the TMSA, as this is done by the shore staff generally yearly once, but I think even ship staff needs to be educated regarding it, and so that they are prepared to avoid unwanted email exchanges and unwanted phone calls. So basically, this is the thing what I want to say, because what we're going to face, or we are already facing, and I hope some changes are made and helps both the company, the management, and also the ship staff on board. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gopalakrishna. May I now ask Captain Gatpande, Suneha Gatpande, to please present her views. You'll have to unmute yourself, Captain Gatpande.
Good evening to everyone. I hope everybody is able to hear me, and Navratri greetings. I would not want to put many points which was already there because of short of time, but just want to make it in a crisp way of majorly 5 to 6 points. I totally support the junior officers, the second and the third officers, when they're talking of the training needs, which they are sending it towards management officers. I would want to put that as an external training is required, definitely required for the junior officers, for them to understand the seriousness of the job that they are doing. They have, I would not want to comment just onto one person, but as a majorly whole, the training has to be imparted from the training institutes and definitely from the company side as well, wherein they are being addressed through their mental pressure as well. A person, everybody over here have been at sea, and they know there is a lot of mental pressure when the person is at sea. The understanding has been almost taken away. They have a strong feeling of being I can't, I don't have the right word for that, but they definitely do not feel that they are on a serious job anywhere. Secondly, the main point itself, the transparency is required from the show. They do not, if they want the junior officer, start something. So why should they be going to the masters? It's finally the company who, it's required to put it, as everybody says, put it on wheels. Then put it on wheels. It's far better for
Captain
the junior officer,
Gatpande, you
also
are
for the
breaking
master.
up. You are not clear at all. We have lost your transmission of
Okay.
your video as well. You're not clear. Can you just do something with your bandwidth?
Maybe she should switch off her camera. Her bandwidth is an issue.
Try again
Okay,
by
I'm
switching
not
off your
very sure.
camera.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, far better. As I said, the first point was regarding the training needs for the management of junior officers, including their mental health. Also, addition to that will be the transparency, which should be from the shore side. Secondly, fatigue of the junior officers, doing 6 on 6 off, an extra officer requirement. It will increase the company aspect of it, but still, it is seen into a very hectic schedule. It should be brought as a permanent thing itself for the extra office. Thirdly, the understanding of 2 departments of which you and I and everybody over have faced, the deck side and the engine side.
Captain Gatpande, you're not clear at all. We couldn't get your last 3-4 lines. Do you want to give me a call and I can put my phone on speaker? Would that work for you?
She's dropped off, I
Sir,
think.
I think I'm back again. Again.
Now you're back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Third point, as I said, the understanding of the 2 departments. Towards the master, it has been always seen as a partial towards the engine side. It needs to be somewhere, it has to be brought up in the training itself, included in the training itself, that slowly you have to come onto that it is not really about departments anymore once you're onto the ship. It is finally about the ship and the management of the all crew and the welfare of all the crew and officers. Fourth point, the shore leave and the external parties. If you're not allowing us the shore leave, please do not allow the external parties to board the vessels as well during this COVID times. We also want to go back home safely. And if everything is required onto the commercial side, please grant us the same thing. If, I have been seeing this, my last contract, before that contract, it's only because of the COVID times, but please take up, there has to be something strong which has to come up from the organizations. Lastly, that I would prefer to be answered really by Sarang sir, Galni sir, how many of the women ratings have been yet posted on board? I have been knowing of a few of them which have completed their trainings and have not been accepted yet on any shipping company or any ships. They have completed their trainings. They have got their own needs. That's a different case. But why was a training being even started if the girls could not be posted on board? I guess that's where I would want to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Gatpande. Points well taken. If the moderators feel that they haven't heard your question properly in your first 2 points, then they will ask you for it. Now I hand over to Captain Yadav and Mr. Rai to please take the views of the panelists, and let's be brief. We're running out of time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Captain Sanjay Mani. Let me take on directly the question from Chief Officer Mayank Parmar. First of all, I want to thank him, really professionally thank you for thanking the people when we say connecting ship to shore, for thanking the people on shore who work for relief of the seafarers during the COVID period. Thank you so much. Probably the first thing that I ever heard was when somebody said, no, Very good. This is something good done by you. Thanks so much. Now let's come to the question that you asked, and one sec, let me see. The question is, you said was about dilution of section 381 in the new merchant shipping bill. And with the permission of the chair and with the permission of the master of ceremonies, can I answer this question?
Yes, sir. I think you are the right person for this. I was thinking that who would you address this question to? You've answered it. This question rightly belongs to you. Go ahead, sir.
All right. All right. So the answer to this is that I don't know how you've been told that there is a dilution of section 381 in the new merchant shipping bill regarding the cancellation or suspension of certificate of competency. The fact is that it already exists from the year 2003. Not last year, not year before last, but it is already existing from the year 2003. Merchant shipping cancellation and suspension of certificate of competency rules 2003. If you want, I can share it on the screen, but knowing this name itself will be sufficient for you to go through it. Already provides for the cancellation or suspension of the certificate of competency of the officers in case of any negligence, this, all the reasons are given in those rules. And of course, that rule is also very clear that after the preliminary inquiry is carried out into any of the incidents which could lead to these kind of actions, fair and free chance will be given to the person concerned to express himself, to represent himself to the authorities, and unless he has been fairly heard, no action can be taken against him. And that fairly being heard will have to be a speaking order and a reply in writing stating against each point what is been alleged and what the person wishes to state. After that also, if it is felt finally by the nautical advisor or the chief surveyor that no, there has been this answer or this explanation or the verbal hearing as well, which is normally given under these circumstances, that it is not satisfactory explanation and there has been some error which has been not negligence or any other act has been committed by the person concerned. In that case, the nautical advisor, or we refer to as chief examiner for deck or agent, can issue an order for suspension or cancellation of certificate. This happens in very, very rare circumstances, number one to begin with. I have not heard of very many people whose certificate of competencies has been cancelled ever. At least I have been in this profession, say, ashore for almost 32, 33 years now. I have not heard of anybody whose certificate of competency has been cancelled. The worst that I have probably seen is that a certificate of competency has been suspended for a period of 6 months. Now, let me make this part very clear. The suspension is done. Generally, till now, the practice that has been followed is suspended for a period of 6 months. Actually, there was a DG who advocated, I don't want to go into the names of anyone, who advocated, what is this suspension of certificate for 6 months? As it is, people are on leave for 4 months. So what difference does it make to anybody? You come back from the ship, certificate is suspended for 6 months. For 5 months, you're already on leave. Just wait for another 1.5 months, you're back again to go on the ship. Back ready to go again on the ship. So does it have any deterrent effect? And therefore, you should, when you suspend the certificate, you should suspend it for minimum 12 months. That has not been implemented. It has not impacted anybody. Now coming to the next part of it. No cancellation has taken place. No suspension more than 6 months has taken place. That's 2. Number 3, these rules have been in existence from 2003. And fair chance is given to every person to represent himself directly to the chief examiner of master and mates who are instrumental in finally granting you the certificate of competence. I will not compare with the driving license or anything and anything, because different legislation, different areas have different things to look at. And therefore, I will not like to compare our certificate of competence with the driving license. Okay. Coming to the Then other part of it, appellate. Director General of Shipping, who is generally a IAS officer with sufficient experience in the field of administration, is the appellate authority to listen to the appeal from the seafarer concerned or the officer concerned that my COC has been unfairly suspended by the chief surveyor or nautical advisor, deck or engine or deck respectively. But I feel that it has been wrongly done, and therefore I appeal to you. Now let's one more thing which comes in this is DG Shipping may be IAS, he may be IRS, he may be anything, but he is certainly a neutral person when it comes to, he's neither deck, he's nor engine, he's not a master, with whom some cadet had sailed and he had misbehaved. So now I have become nautical advisor, I will suspend his certificate. These kind of things are not going to happen. Number one, even from the nautical advisor or chief surveyor, after having reached that level of additional secretary to the government of India, and then from the Director General of Shipping with at least 30 years of experience in administration at various levels, various cadres, various areas, including PSUs, including districts and state and ministry levels and whatnot. He will certainly not be biased on that part of it when it listens to the appeal. And thereafter, in case you still agree, no rule, no act prevents you to go to the High Court and file a writ petition. Okay? Because this is a question of denying a person his livelihood. After the certificate has been suspended, let us say, and you're not convinced about it, or you want to appeal against it, and even the DG Shipping does not reverse the order passed by the chief examiner, you're always free to go to the High Court and file a petition. No person is unjustly entitled to deprive anybody of his livelihood, come what may be. Thank you. Is that good enough, or you want me to explain further? Merchant shipping, cancellation and suspension of Certificate of Competency Rules 2003. They are available on DG Shipping website, almost right on top. Please download and read for yourself. Thank you.
I think, Captain Yadav, you have been very lucid in your explanation of this particular question. And I don't think he would have any further doubts on this, as I don't have any doubt. I'm sure of it. So we'll move on to address.
One thing more. I want to say something.
Yes.
You can insure your COC with MUI. So we will give the 5 lakh rupees for the litigation. So every member, first of all, he should be a member of MUI and with the COC insurance. So we can fight for it. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I think we'll come to Captain Suneha, and since I couldn't really hear too much of it very clearly, I'll take a back seat if she can address the questions directly, and then we will. I think from the panel, anybody can choose to answer the question, because I really couldn't note down because I couldn't really hear very much clearly.
I think
Suneha,
her last question was very pertinent to what is happening, and she had specifically asked Mr. Sarang to address that. Mr. Sarang, I know that you nodded when she was asking for yours. So I think we'll take the last question first, which is very interesting. Mr. Sarang, please address that. Why?
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question, please?
Why aren't there any women ratings still on rolls of the shipping company? In spite after the training.
Okay.
And why are they being trained?
Okay. The specific question was why women ratings are still not there as on board. So first, let me correct that when we talk about women in shipping, we are obsessed and we only focus on merchant shipping. There are hundreds and hundreds of women already working on ship, particularly the cruise ship. So you should not disregard that there is no women in shipping. No, on cruise ship, there are hundreds and hundreds in different categories, different ranks. There are women already working from the lower ranks to the upper ranks. So the notion that no women in shipping, because it should not be perceived that only when they join merchant ships or cargo ship or tanker ship, that is the concept of we have women in shipping. No, So I'm just clarifying that one point, and I can see Suniti noting for that. Thank you, Suniti, for that. Secondly, why the number of ratings are not, it is a fact, the number of ratings seafarers on board merchant ship is not there to a level which was expected. Now, there are reasons for that. The very fact that Suneha and the team were, on board the SCI ship, all women officers, is because and only because of the management of SCI. Let us, Mr. Hajra is here, and the earlier management of Hajra, and after him also, the management of SCI took a conscious decision. Yes, it was a management which went ahead. Yes, we need more women seafarers in the rank of the officer started. Likewise, it was already earlier mentioned that it is for the management to have the notion, to have the concept. Yes, we need to have women seafarers. Only then it is going to change. SCI has done a yeoman service to the Indian shipping fraternity in many ways. Cadets, they had the MTI. That is how so many of our hundreds of our seafarers are gainfully employed in Indian flag and foreign flag also. And as far as women ratings are concerned, we have had very recently, after the Suneha captained the ship with all women officers, I had a chat with the CMD, Madam Joshi, and again, SCI is committed to the fact that they have already started receiving the application from women ratings, and they are looking into the possibility of putting women. And she has said, before I leave, as a CMD, it is my endeavor and it is the point which I will ensure that we start the process of women rating in SCI ships. To the point when I was asked if there is a male seafarer of waiting for 2 years, I, as a union, again as a responsible union, I have told the companies that even if the male seafarer is waiting for 2 years, let him wait for another more time. If you have a woman seafarer rating, put priority to women, even if she just finished a training and she's just waiting for 6 months, no problem. Put the woman rating. The male seafarer can wait, let him wait at the expense of being criticized. We have said, yes, let the seafarer wait, give priority to the woman rating. So the process has started, and many other companies on the foreign flag, they are already taking, but it is a trickle. It is not to the level expected, but the beginning has been made. But again, I say it is very challenging for women ratings, again, to get gainful employment. The process is there, not to the level of our expectation, but we are working towards that. Thank you.
Mr. Rai, please take over.
Thank you very much. Now I will take questions of Chief Engineer Mr. Mayur Gopal Krishna. And this is, I will make it into a general question and request if Captain Nalin Pandey sir, can you respond to that? What is your opinion about ship-specific training related to equipments which are being on board? Any comment on ship-specific items and the training? He mentioned scrubber, but I would like to generalize it.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. The ship-specific training, I think that most of the company, they are doing it to the officer and crew prior embarkation. If I tell about the chief engineer, we have also, I know, and many company, I know that they have given ship-specific training when the chief engineer were changed from a manual ship, like when the engines were running manual and then it went on the automation 20 years back itself, they were also trained. Now also it is being trained ship-specific training. Then chief engineer has asked also for the scrubber training. Yes, scrubber training is given, ballast water management is given, then plant maintenance system, whether you are AMOS or you are BASNet or some other things are there, that is being given. Then ship-specific, you can say that SIRE and CDI inspection that is being talked about. It is these are the old topics, and officers are also being given extensively, even for the crew. Like I know V-Ships, Captain Tandon is here, V-Ships for many years, and few more company, Masa and Fosma group of company, they are giving the ship-specific training. generic training for 1 week to 10 days, various ranks, they are giving the training about that. So these are there ship specific, including the new thing. If you see the ACDs, already there is a rule that ACDs you have to have the ship specific training has to be given. Now, how effectiveness is the training, that is not measured every time. Like we are giving them, and it is not measured the effectiveness of the training, that whatever we are giving, it has how much benefit it has gone to the officer and how much benefit it has gone to the crew. Also, I would like to add that, many company I know that they are giving the route wise, like if the particular vessel is operating between Singapore and Japan or Singapore and other places. So in between that, and navigating officers are also being given about the route specific training. This has come after the some collision incident with the fishing boat and all, and lot of fines, etc. So that are being given. I agree with Chief Engineer that it should continue. I can only say that it should continue because it's not a new topic, and that is already given by most of the company that I know.
Yeah, thank you, Captain Pandey. What I understand is most of the ships are giving that ship-specific familiarization. I wouldn't call it training as such, but I see Mr. Mayur also want to. Can you be brief, Mr. Mayur? We are running short of time.
Yes, sir, I'll be brief, sir. What I was trying to say is due to like the scrubber, which is a major concern nowadays for many people on board and all the people on board and also office, because in case any issues happen with the scrubber, we do not have too much time, and in case we cannot resolve, we have to change over to MGO, and which again requires approval from the company. They'll take the approval from flag state and class and etc. etc. What the issue that we are facing is nowadays as ship staff is, yes, training is being provided by the manufacturer who makes the scrubber in this case, but this training is very brief. He may come for a very short time, and one cannot learn everything. So one needs to spend some companies need to address this and provide training once the staff is back home. Best example I can give you is like a ME engine training, where it's a 5-day course where you get trained, and after 5 days you really learn something. So it has to be very specific. So it's easier for the ship staff, and it's easier for ship staff to give feedback to the shore staff, like the superintendent, who can give feedback to the manufacturer. Number one, that what is the plan, because this eventually will be on our heads soon. Second, regarding SIRE, as Saab said, as the new one, what I was telling you is the SIRE 2.0. Generally, when the inspector finishes his inspection, generally there is a closing meeting. And what happens in the closing meeting, only the master chief engineer knows with him. And some inspectors can be very good. Some inspectors can be, how shall I put it? I cannot find the right word for it, but it's difficult to explain it to him, or he will not change, or he will not,
not so good.
Adamant.
Not so good.
He's very adamant. I think that's the right word to use. So with this SIRE 2.0, he can upload it straight away. So generally in any management company, when a high risk observation or an observation which seems to be a little bit tricky, the management or the superintendent, MRSV, the marine superintendent, will always generally they will tell you to just call him up before he makes the final document. Generally, in this case, this luxury will be out. So we need to accept this as the ship managers should expect not zero observations or very minimal observations going ahead. So what needs to be done? So eventually this is going to come on our heads soon next year. So that's what I want to say.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah, Mr. Atul, Captain Atul.
Yeah. Okay. Mayur, I know what you're saying. I did 15 years of SIRE in the company. I was handling SIRE's inspection for 15 years in a ship management company. I know what you're talking. First, let me go back to scrubber training. Okay. It's like the EGDIS. When EGDIS came, people were not so aware of the training. It took time. I'm sure a lot of companies have already started that ship-specific training, and scrubber is a very, very difficult to operate. If it breaks down, spares are not available, technicians don't know what to do. It's a big problem. So I'm sure that companies are addressing that issue about the scrubber training and making it more ship-specific, though it has not come as a requirement like the ECDIS came. Coming to your sire, my concern is always with the seafarers, is that why do you have to negotiate? Firstly, why do you have to negotiate if sire is like an open book exam. If you take the sire, I remember in 2001, 2002, when the sire inspectors guidelines came, I was sailing, and within a month, I knew the sire by heart. And I did not need to go on deck. I would go on deck without the book, and I could know what is the problem. It is about looking at the low-hanging fruits. Why are people worried about, I must get 0? I know this is an issue from the office. You must get 0. I have a KPI of 3. That is all crap. So, sorry to say, it's all crap. You should not get high-risk observations. An OCIM director of training told me once that, can you imagine, an inspector writes that the port gyro was showing 2 degrees off. He says, can you imagine master saying port 17? He said, people have to be practical. In this new SIRE 2.2, probably that practicality will come in by the inspectors also. My concern is that, again, as I said before, shortcuts. Why people are, as you said about TMSA, you're right. When a TMSA audit is being done in the office, 15 days before, you'll start getting mails. Can you give us this? Can you give us this? Can you give us this? Can you give us this document? And we will file it here. They will make some amendments and show it to the inspector and get it. This is norm. I'm telling you. But my concern is, why do you have to negotiate? Look at the low-hanging fruit, solve the problems, report. Don't take that pressure onto you, because I agree that, I'm talking now, I've always advocated. I also did it. I'm not denying it that I also negotiated as a guy sitting in the office. But I had a true image given to my management that what is our SIRE actual observations and what is we need to do. If that is done, you will get it done. Ship staffs have to make sure that you look at low-hanging fruits. Why is your offshore manifold gauge not removed during cargo operations? Why? That inspector will see that and he knows that you're not bothered. You should look at his eyes. Again, another thing, my last thing before, I know running out short of time. When you're walking with the inspector, look at his eye movement. If he sees something and you see something, you amend it immediately. That will show to him that you have missed something, but you are now taking action. But if you ignore it and then you want him to remove it, he's not confident that you're going to do something about it. So that's my take on SIRE, scrubber. Don't, it's a big, I saw Mr. Rajesh also laughing, So it's a common issue which will continue facing. Maybe SIRE 2.2 might have a change. You never know.
Anyway, thank you, Captain Watsa. Captain, can you take over, please? Captain.
I just want to add to Mr. Mayur that this instantly uploading is not new. Like I have been doing the audit and I was the safety department head. 1998, I have seen in Europe that the inspector used to do the audit or the SIRE inspection, and before he disembarks from the ship, he uploads the entire report. So it's not a new thing, So so don't worry for that, Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. This has been really a very interactive session, and we would like to now hear from our chief guest, Captain Rajesh Tandon. Thank you for your patience, sir. And the floor is now all yours.
Wow. Thanks. That was a very, very invigorating and an interesting session. Gagan, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a little more time. You had threatened that I should finish my speech by 18:45, but when I'm given the floor only at 19:20, I will need 3 or 4 minutes, and I'll try to sum up everything. To start with, I'd like to thank Gagan and his team, Sanjay, the moderators, the panelists, the seafarers, in fact, everybody here for a very, very invigorating exchange and a session. Sanjay, I really liked for the first. I've heard this for the first time when you say our industry is the mother of all industry. It's the mother industry. So I'm going to, with your permission, start using that phrase as we go along future somewhere. I think the objective of this particular event has been to a unified attempt at making life better for seafarers. Now, a lot of questions were raised that were interesting. A lot of responses were received with the varying views. There are a few things that I have picked up, and I will only pick on those. And the first one was for Aparajita, if she is still here. Aparajita, I think the ladies who are here and from that time are the real pioneers of bringing lady seafarers into our industries, and they've faced monumentous hardships, challenges in dealing with it and coming to level and par and proving themselves. Unfortunately, they had to prove when they did not need to prove. But when new people are coming in, it is always going to be necessary. And I think you guys have flown with flying colors. Discrimination of any sort, whether it is gender discrimination, nationality discrimination, is very, very unfortunate and should not be condoned. But please try and understand, why is there this discrimination? Is it because the person who is discriminating has fixed ideas, or does he have his own fears and inherent inadequacies, which he cannot address when there is somebody of somebody who he is not familiar of working with? I wouldn't say other gender. I mean, I spoke up briefly about Nalin when before the thing started. He was the first Indian officer in a completely British environment. The kind of discrimination he faced over there, I am aware, and I don't think we need to go into that. The point is, he came out with flying colors, and he paved the way. As we, in our generation, when we went out to sea in foreign companies, we were replacing the Britishers. We were replacing people from the European continent. We faced discrimination not only on board. I joined as master, so there was no onboard discrimination, but I faced discrimination from superintendents and owners. Owners asked my management, "You're putting an Indian guy on board. Are you sure he'll be able to drive the ship?" So, we've overcome that. So there is no shortcut to this. You guys have to just grit your teeth and move forward. And I think she's done well, and I must compliment her for what she's done. The other aspect also, which perhaps people who are in senior positions will understand, when a ship is going into dry dock, and I think Vineet touched upon it, the chief engineer and the master are the lead managers, project managers of that project. If one project manager is uncomfortable with one member of his team, right or wrong is not the issue. For the management, it is to make sure that the project gets completed and fulfilled in the best possible way. As long as that person who has been removed unfairly, in this case, as Aparajita was, and she has been given an adequate placement in the next ship, I think what could have been done was, if they had leveled with her, if they had been transparent with her and told her, this is the reason we are taking off, we have full confidence in your work, but since the chief engineer is leading a crucial dry dock and he is not comfortable, we will give you another ship, so please move on. Or, as I think you suggested, put another engineer on board. Easier said than done, but everything has a commercial value attached to it. So it was not done. So we are there to help. The management does take into cognizance all these things, but we live in the real world, which is a commercial world as well. I'm not sure whether this satisfies the answers to its fullest, but at least it is something that we need to be mindful of. One thing I was very concerned about was, these taking shortcuts on board on spares and everything. Please understand that the management, many a time, it's not the management that is asking you to do this. It's not the ship management company. It is the individual superintendent who, because he has to deliver something and which he may have failed to bring up to the attention of his management, is asking you to do over the thing on the phone. It is something similar, like if a chief engineer tells the fourth engineer to debottom the slop tank at night. The fourth engineer can refuse it. And because that's probably the fact, because the chief engineer has perhaps not managed to keep his, slop levels or whatever. The thing is that just because an individual is giving an order, it does not mean it's the company that is giving the order. The company has a mechanism by which you can escalate. If you're not happy with the superintendent's instruction coming on the phone, all of us are aware there is a DPA. We can escalate it in writing to the DPA, and I can assure you, you will get a response immediately that you are not supposed to do this. Please do what is supposed to be done as per the ISM and as per the best practices at sea which every company prescribes. Just to pick up one more point from Mayur, Mayur mentioned about the ship-specific training for the scrubber, because it's a new piece of equipment. Everybody is not familiar. All management companies and all ISM codes require a feedback from Master and Chief Engineer. Please put it in your recommendation after your safety meeting that ship-specific, scrubber-specific training on this ship, because of the peculiarities, is required. It may not happen immediately, but if sufficient responses, sufficient recommendations come in, definitely it will be important that the company takes into cognizance that particular thing and formalizes the training package for such an equipment, which requires people to be fully familiar when they are operating. Again, because of commercial consequences that may erupt if it is not handled properly. Finally, there was this thing about Suneha mentioned about training of juniors and about mental strength. My take on this mental issues, and it is a major issue in today's day and age with seafarers, becoming the main issue, in my view, is we need to strike a balance between isolation on board and availability of WhatsApp and everything. Because, and it's not faulting the seafarers. When they get a minute off, they will go into their room and they will talk to their wife and they will talk to their family and they will do that. So the social interaction that used to take place has diminished to a very large extent. Add to that the fact that the ships are short manned, just minimum manning, just to keep the ship running safely is what is going on. So with no social interaction and only hearing things from home, which generally are 80% is the negatives and only 20% is the positives. आज मेरी बाई नहीं आई, आज मुझे ये करना पड़ा, मेरी सास मुझे तंग कर रही है. It's, I mean, I'm making light of these complaints, but these are the genuine kind of complaints I get a feedback on. So we need to find a solution, and I don't have all the fixes to this, but there must be a social interaction amongst the people on board to maintain the mental balance and sanity of the entire ship's company. If there are 4 people or 5 people who are off at one given time and they're sitting in the officers or the crew lounge, and if one person is going a little low in depression, 4 people will notice it, that he is not being himself. There's something wrong. Somebody will kya ho gaya? Kyun kar rahe ho ye? Koi takleef hai kya? Talking and taking things out of his system is the best remedy for dealing with mental health and stress issues. If it is still serious, escalate it to the master. Many companies have got wellness and officers available. Nusi Sahara is there that you can call. You don't necessarily need to call only for yourself. You can call for your colleague. Fosma Masa ran this thing with 3Cube, a helpline that we ran, and we still run it. It's a helpline for every seafarer of India. Call them. They are the experts in the business. Reach out. That is what the solution is. But if you remain isolated in your cabin, and people will not notice this thing. So I think the management and the senior management, the masters, chief engineers, should try and make. You don't need to have a booze party only, because that's not permitted in any case. You can have a lime juice party or just have a get together and just play carom board, just have a laughing session. Idea is you get to see if any of your colleagues or friends are having a bit of a down time and intercept that thing before it becomes a big issue. Finally, Suneha, you mentioned about the shore leave. Very valid and an absolute point. No shore leave, no shore staff, no shore people to come on board. After all, there's a safety issue over here. Well, easier said than done. I agree, I empathize, and I say if we can transfer the thing to them, they can transfer to us. It's the health and well-being. but the ship is running a commercial operation. As Sanjay has pointed out rightly, it is the mother industry, and we are the ones who kept the world and globe moving, getting food on our table, getting oil in our reservoirs, our electricity, and the old cliche saying, if there was no shipping, then half the world would freeze and half the world would starve, comes to the fore if it had not been for the ship staff, and that has come to the fore during this pandemic. So I'm sure you will all agree with me in saluting all the seafarers and making the world move the way they are. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thanks to everybody. And if I have missed out on something which I thought I would speak about, I'll ask Gagan to invite me the next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Tandon. I have a task for Gagan. After having gone through this session and all the previous sessions, I think the people who will benefit from these discussions would be actually the seafarers themselves. And next time, I would like you to invite more seafarers, even if they're not speaking, but they should be part of this. Because what has transpired today, different comments, summing up by Captain Tandon, I think this was something that every seafarer should have heard. So next time, please make an effort to invite more sailing seafarers. I think this is majorly for them. There were so many beautiful suggestions, so many comments, Captain Yadav explaining certain issues. That is amazing. Captain Vatsa, Captain Pandey, Mr. Gupta. So that is a task I leave you with. And now I will invite Captain Sharma, who's been sitting very patiently, and to give us, to present the vote of thanks. Thank you, Captain Sharma, for being there with us today. And over to you, sir.
Thanks very much, Captain Mani, and good evening to everybody. I have the task of the vote of thanks just to close up the session today. And in the shipboard kind of way, I have prepared my checklist right here. Checklist number is Victor Tango 101, prepared by Gagan Pandey, approved by Captain Mani. I just have the business of reading out a few names and then signing at the end. But the first thing is I like to start is to thank BCCI. And you may wonder why. The reason is that they organize the finals of the IPL tomorrow and not today. And that's good because, otherwise we wouldn't be around. And the second person I would like to thank before anybody else is Mr. Eric Yuan. I suppose you know who that is. If you don't know, then he is the inventor of Zoom. And that has made it possible for us to see each other today where we are sitting, whether different parts of the country or different parts of the world. So thanks, Mr. Eric. And now on to the real business. The people who need our thanks the most are Abhineet, Aparajita, Amit, Braj Kishore, Mayank, Mayur, and Sunaya Madam. Thank you very much for all the inputs that you have provided from your hearts, without fear of ever thinking about how it will go down with the industry and the shore people and all of these guys. Don't worry about it. You are on the true path, and as everyone has said, hats off and salute to you for carrying on the business of shipping as you are doing right now. And then it comes down to the panelists, of course. Mr. Atul, Captain Atul Vatsa, Captain Pandey, Captain Gupta, Mrs. Suniti Bala, thank you very much. And our two stalwarts from the unions, Mr. Amarjit Thakur and Abdul Ghani Sarang Sahab. Thank you very much for your patient hearing of the seafarers' issues and then your responses to them. And then the very fine rounding up done by our chief guest, Captain Rajesh Tandon. Thank you very much, Captain Tandon. Very nicely put everything together. I did miss, well, he's gone now. I did miss Mr. Hajra. He said he would like to speak and we would give him a chance, but I think he is, kind of moved out. So never mind. Thanks to him for attending at the same time. Or thanks to all the others who attended as well. Then it comes to our dear moderators, Captain Mahesh Yadav and Mr. Rai. Thanks very much for fielding the questions and throwing them and lobbing them onto the panelists, and your own very particular and very important inputs. Thank you, Captain Mahesh, particularly on the COC suspension issue. That's so very enlightening. Thank you. So that leaves you, Captain Manny, approver of the checklist. I have completed, and I shall now sign. It's done, and tuck, tuck, tuck. Thank you very much for hosting this fourth, and I don't know if final or not, but the fourth event of the Sea and Shore Connect. So then it leaves for Mr. Gagan Pandey to let us know what are his plans for the future, and by the time we hear about it, it's going to be very, very happy Dashera to all of you for tomorrow. I wish you and all the rest of the festive season that is to follow. Take care of your families. Be safe and good night.
Thank you so much, Captain Sharma. Thank you very much. Very well summed up, a very well presented vote of thanks. I think Gagan has been getting off very cheaply during these webinars because he has nothing to offer after we have finished doing so much of hard work of attendance, and we are left with our cups of coffee that we are holding. So I think next time, Gagan, please take this note. We want to have a live one instead of a webinar. Let it be a live seminar. So after this is finished, we can look forward to something. A drink
and we're giving you all the subtle hints. We're giving you all the subtle hints here.
And
thank you very much,
you invite
everyone.
us from Singapore also with an air ticket.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have very rich people actually right now who have. So, yeah, Captain Acha, I thought Mr. Sereng wanted to say something. Okay, so that's it for now. And all the best. Happy Dashera, happy Diwali. And we shall get together next month sometime. Hopefully, it'll be a live one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.